Hi everybody, it's Colin Ellis here. It's Monday the 1st of November and we're doing lessons outside. Yes we are. Welcome to the Culture and Coffee podcast. I'm not actually sure if lessons outside is an Australian thing. It's definitely an English thing. So lessons outside was basically where you would get the 2 nice days a year that you had kind of in England. And then you would beg the teachers to go out, like literally, sir, miss, please, can we do lessons outside? Of course, here, it's like 1,000 degrees in February and March. So there's no way they're going to do lessons outside. It's lessons inside, under the air. Actually, it's probably, the thought of doing lessons outside here is just probably bonkers. I remember when we first arrived in New Zealand, and like there was a list of stuff that the kids had to have for school when they started school, and one of them was like a sun hat. It was like, wait a minute, we don't position them with maximum flesh showing under the sun so they can get a base tan. We don't do that. Apparently don't. Apparently, we're sun safe and sun smart. Actually, they might be in England now. They definitely weren't when I was a kid. So yeah, I'm in the middle of Princes Park here in the northern suburbs. It's 6:40 on Monday morning, and I figured I'd do something different. It's going to be a beautiful day today. It's a beautiful morning. The sun is just coming up and shining through the trees. Yeah, people running in front of me. I'll be doing that myself later. I didn't want to record the podcast while I was running. Have you seen that? Have you seen people doing that? I've seen people doing that during lockdown. Is they're obviously on work calls while they're doing their exercise. And I'm thinking, well, how do you manage that? How do you do that without it sounding absolutely ridiculous? But they do, yeah. So people out for a walk, yeah. Someone's power walking. Yeah, don't quite understand that, but that's all right as long as you're getting your exercise. So some of the other sounds that you may hear, other than the traffic, although I've tried to position myself far away from the traffic. So you might hear some trams in the background. Melbourne has the largest tram network in the world, I think. I didn't fact check that, so feel free to correct me if I got that wrong. I think it has the largest tram network in the world. I love the tram. There's something old-fashioned about the tram. I get the tram, like, if I can, I get the tram just about everywhere. Firstly, it's good for the environment. I don't want to be using the car necessarily. But secondly, I just like getting the tram. Even if I have to wear a mask, I enjoy getting the tram. Birds here, the false minor is the noisiest bird here, I would say. Although the sound you can probably hear in the background right now is rainbow lorikeets, which actually in Liverpool what we call rainbow lorikeets are parrots. Hey lad, if it's got 2 colours in it, it's a parrot, all right. There's tons of these everywhere. They make so much noise, these parrots. They do. They're really, really noisy, but they're absolutely beautiful to look at, and there's tons of them. And magpies, of course. Magpies here, of course, like everything in Australia at certain stages of the year, try to kill you. So this week I'm going to be talking about purpose, and it is connected to the coffee that I'm drinking. I will reveal all shortly. But this week's coffee, which I have in my keep cup, obviously, it's another Kenyan. It's a Kenyan Kariaini. I'm not having the best luck pronouncing that. I should have practiced really. Kariaini, roasted by beet coffee. In Reservoir in the northern suburbs of Melbourne, the far northern suburbs of Melbourne. Actually took a cycle out to beet coffee last week. It was another beautiful spring day. It was about 82 degrees. I don't know. So Celsius and Fahrenheit, I grew up with mum and we used Celsius in the winter and Fahrenheit in the summer when I grew up, and I don't know why that is, but anyway, it was really warm. So I took a cycle out there. This particular coffee has notes of plum, blackberry, and sweet floral. So let me have a taste of this. That is really nice. I'm spitting feathers as well this morning. That is absolutely delicious. 6 countries in Africa that produce coffee. I don't know whether you know that. There are 6 countries. And those 6 are Kenya, Ivory Coast, Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, and Ethiopia. Easily my favourite, Ethiopia. And Ethiopia is actually the birthplace of coffee. It's where it all started. In the Kaffa region over 1,000 years ago. So that's where coffee was born. Now, the origin of the word kafa is thought to be from the Arabic qawa, which means a drink from berries. Who knew? So according to legend, right? According to legend, and by that I mean according to a website, but I did check it, I did verify it out, so I didn't want this to be a kind of random thing. According to legend, a goat herder named Kaldi, Kaldi, saw his goats acting a bit weird. Like they'd eaten some red berries, and Kaldi's like, look, I just wanted a quiet day. What's up with those guys? And they're all going a bit mental. And he's like, it's something in the berries. Maybe I'll try those berries myself. And so he did. And according to legend, he was pleasantly surprised by the effects. He was like, I got a ha-ha, yes, sir. So he gathered up the berries and the beans inside, and he took them to some nearby monks, because I know that if I discovered anything that was life-changing, the first thing I'd do is look for monks. I don't know about you. It's like, here's an invention that could change. I've just discovered the best Uber, right? Where's the nearest monks? Where can I just need to tell someone, and it needs to be monks. So he took it to monks, and apparently they feared that these berries were cursed by the devil. So the monks tossed them in the fire, and of course, you know what's coming next. As they tossed them into the fire, they roasted the beans inside the berries, filling the monastery with this beautiful aroma, and then they crushed and brewed the beans and drank it all night. And the rest, as they say, is history. So Kaldi, mental goats, monks, coffee, that's how it went. So there you go. But yeah, so I mentioned that, so I took a cycle to Reservoir, so-called, because there's a reservoir up there. Name the place after the thing that's there. Towns like Reservoir and Tram Stop and Big Tree and, soil throughout the northern suburbs. So I took a cycle up there. Now, Beat Coffee was founded and is run by a guy called Lee. Now, after Lee finished university, he became an engineer and happily did the job for 15 years. So this is on his website. I did talk a little bit to Lee, but I didn't tell him I was actually going to do this, so I hope he's all right with this. And when he talked about engineering on the site, now he kind of had a passion for engineering, but actually he was meeting more and more people who were really, really passionate about what they did. They were doing things that really lit them up, and he had this realization for himself that life should be about that. Life should be about doing something that you're really passionate about. So he went and did it. So I think he spent 15 years as an engineer, did various jobs, but he went and bought a coffee roaster and started his own coffee roasting, because the two things in his life were, I think he puts this on his website, were coffee and music. So he's like, I'm gonna plow all of my efforts and energies into those things. So he did. He went and bought a coffee roaster, and that's what he's done. And he's got a beautiful little, it's one of those unassuming places. There's a little strip mall of shops. There's, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 shops, almost completely surrounded by, if you didn't know it was there, you probably would never go. I found it on Google, just randomly on Google. I wanted a cycle, and I figured that would be a roastery in the northern suburbs, and that's how I find it. But on his website, when he's talking about passion, Lee calls this in his endless search. And so I think it was a really good segue for me to talk about purpose, your own purpose and your company's purpose as well, and how the two of those, should be, I suppose, intrinsically linked. Now, in a business context, purpose is the role that the organization exists to fulfill in the world, right? So, for example, Nike's purpose is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. Starbucks' purpose is to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. So they talk, Starbucks there, one cup. there's an element of, we make coffee in there, but that's much more, when I read that purpose statement, it's much more about community. All right, so that's its role in the world. And what we're seeing now is more and more organisations are looking at ways to, I suppose, tell the purpose story, if that's the right thing, the right way to put it. The Deloitte Millennial Survey a couple of years back actually had purpose at the same level of pay when it comes to what millennials were looking for. So the Millennial Survey is basically, they survey millennials and ask them, what are you looking for in a job? And purpose was pretty much up there. Now, don't get me wrong, people still want to get paid, and they want to get paid well. I'll take purpose over anything, right? But they want to get paid. But what they're saying is, and I've mentioned this before, I think, on the podcast, is that they would compromise pay to work for an organisation that's doing good in the world. Like, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want to work for an organisation that was doing good in the world? So that's what we're told. We're told that purpose is as important as pay this morning. But I think the mistake that people often make is thinking that kind of purpose is out there just waiting for you. I'm just going to get up and have a little bit of a walk here. It's getting a bit chilly in the shade. The purpose is just waiting for you, when it's not. Like most things, purpose is something that we find. Now, we got two teenagers, and what we want for them more than anything is for them to be happy. We want them to, kind of find something that they enjoy. We want them to grow and evolve. We want them to meet like-minded people that can help them grow. We want them to make mistakes, as that's how you learn, and we want them to know that they're loved and cared for by their parents and supported every step of the way, right? Like every parent, that's what we want. But I think, one of the things that we don't want to do is tell them to go and find something that lights them up, and that seems to be kind of a common thing that we're telling kids. Just to find something that lights you up. Once you've found the thing that lights you up, then your life will be complete. It's just not how life works. Now, I've been around a bit, so I know a little bit about life. And I know that I found my purpose about 6 times. I've had about 6 purposes. So this is my endless search. Lee calls it his endless search. So I've had about 6 purposes. And I think, so from an organisation perspective and from a culture perspective, what you want to do, and I ran a workshop actually about 2 or 3 weeks ago with a team on their purpose. We spent half a day coming up with their purpose and say, this is your purpose for now. Right? This is not your purpose forever, because the nature of business changes, right? This is the role that your department, there's a specific department within a health company. This is the role that your department exists to fulfill right now. They've just merged 2 teams, so we kind of looked at the purpose of the entire department. As I put, if and when strategically you change, if and when you either absorb another team or anything changes, then you need to redefine your purpose. You can't just set and forget. I think many organisations do this. They kind of, this is our purpose, right? That's it for 10 years. This is our vision. That's it for 10 years. These are our values. That's it for 10 years. Almost like they're exercises that they have to do to signal that they know what they're talking about or know what they're doing when it comes to culture, and we're done. And that's not true. And, I had this conversation with the CEO, and he said, I'm looking for a tenure for 3 to 5 years. I'm like, okay, that's cool. He's like, and I'm looking to set the vision and the values and blah, blah. I'm going to refresh all of those for my tenure. And I thought, well, that's pretty smart. I was like, your vision you'll probably need to do every year, 18 months to match the aspiration of the organisation. But your values, yeah, I completely agree. You'd go through that values exercise right now. Similarly with the purpose. The purpose of the business probably isn't going to change that much within 3 to 5 years. But for you as an individual, your endless search, and I don't want you to feel restless by this. I want this to be something that you're curious about, that you're excited about. but also that you recognize that you find your purpose when you put time, effort, energy into something and figure stuff out as you go. There's no magic answer. Now, there are some that find their calling earlier than others. Some people have a very definite view of what it is that they want to do, even from an early age. Now, I wasn't one of those people. I think I'm like the majority. I think the majority of people don't know what they want to do immediately at school. I think it's pretty rare. So what you have to do is you have to kind of go out and find different things. Now, if you're in your job right now and you're not particularly happy, I have a lot of empathy for that. I've been there many times. But what you've got to do is to bring the best of you to your job. You've got to understand the various components of it, and you've got to do it to the best of your ability. You've got to know that that's not the thing that you want to do. Now, sometimes it's the thing that you want to do, but you're in the wrong organisation. And you'll know that because you'll actually enjoy your job, but not the dynamics that surround it, if that makes sense. So, I fell into project management in my late 20s. Now, prior to that, I'd worked in a bank. I'd done lots of jobs within a bank, from cashier to standing orders and direct debits and all of this stuff. And what I wanted to do was to progress through the bank, and eventually I was working in a sub-branch, and I had a management role in a sub-branch, which I really enjoyed. But I wanted more for myself. I was like, okay, I've done this, I've been the best of me, I've mastered this, and what's next? So I had this relentless, endless search, as Lee called it. This kind of relentless curiosity to get better at stuff. But I found myself in a project management role that I loved. I had a great boss. And then after, it was 3.5 years, he moved on. And then all of a sudden I had a manager who I just didn't connect with at all. And yet I loved my job. I loved my job, just not the dynamic with that manager. And so then I had a choice. And so this is where often you'll find yourself, is you'll have a choice. Now, specifically in relation to the purpose that the organisation has. All right? Does the organisation have a purpose? Does it live its purpose? Do you see it in the leaders? Or is it just words on a bit of paper? Is it something that's stuck up is it something on the website that people talk a lot about, but you don't actually see in practice? Because the organisations that take purpose seriously are the ones that mean it, are the ones that base every decision on their purpose, are the ones that are looking continuously to do good by its people and often good by the world. And you've got to decide, is the thing that you're doing, does it line up with what the organisation's doing? And as a result, do you kind of feel almost completed by it for that moment in time, not forever? And at that point, you kind of got to the point where your purpose matches the organisation's purpose. But it doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. It doesn't. And so this kind of endless search for purpose, as Lee called it on his website, is absolutely right. Now, it's not a restlessness. You're not causing trouble because you're unhappy. You're just, I suppose, constantly learning, and one of the things that I always encourage, it's one of the reasons I set up the Culture Makers community, was to help people that wanted to constantly learn about culture. It's to constantly learn about teamwork, was to constantly learn about some of those dynamics that are in play on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, such that you can become better at what you do and get to the point where you understand what it is that you love right now and where you want to put all of your energy, effort, attention, intention in order to get better at something. And really make it your calling. I didn't find my calling in life, I would say, until I was 46. The thing that I'm doing now is a thing that I can see myself doing for a very long time. Now, I haven't done that in a while. I got run over by a runner. Can you get run over by a runner? Yeah, you probably can, can't you? I didn't find it till I was 46. All of a sudden I'm facilitating large groups and speaking to people and traveling. It's something that I absolutely love doing. But I know in 5 years I might want to focus on one of those elements. I might just want to focus on the speaking side of things or the writing side of things. I don't know. And that's the thing about purpose. The thing about purpose is it evolves with you. And it's driven by you. Your company's purpose generally will change every kind of 5 years, and it's up to you to continually ask yourself, is the thing that the organisation stands for, is the role that it exists to fulfil in the world, does it match my aspiration for myself? And when it doesn't, well, maybe then it's time to move on. Okay, hope you enjoyed this podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Ta-ra for now.